What a beautiful summer night it is here at the Star in Frisco, Tostitos Championship Plaza, as fans head into Ford Center for opening night at the Star. And welcome to Dallas Cowboys football here at the Star. Bill Jones, Jesse Holley, Nate Newton, Kyle Yeomans. And Kyle has the triplets here as well. Their first chance to see America's team, just 6 months old, and your chance too. We're going to, over the course of the next hour here on DallasCowboys.com and TXA 21, here's your chance to take a look at the 2024 version of the Cowboys, the official version, because we had cuts earlier today. We are 12 days away from the season opener against the Cleveland Browns. And Jesse Holley, it's an exciting time, isn't it?
It's absolutely an exciting time, Bill. You think about football is back. This is what we wait all year for. Like, this is Christmas in August. We get the chance to have football again and a new roster. Every single year, there will be somebody that we'll see that'll have a breakout year, that'll come along that we didn't think was going to be there, but now is there. We got our boy paid. Give me my money. 88's paid. He's in the building, so I'm excited and ready to go.
And those two new guys you're talking about is Tyler Guyton, our left tackle, and Cooper Beebe, our center. If these two guys can gel with the other three guys who are high-level players, this team will be successful. But if they don't gel and they're slow to gel, this team could be out for a rocky start.
No, that's exactly right. It's a first domino that needs to fall in order for the rest of this team to really be what it is. And it starts on the interior of the defensive line as well. I think you really look at this team differently now than when they first left for Oxnard because of the investments that they've made on the interior of their defensive line by adding Jordan Phillips, adding Linval Joseph, and now finding a little bit of a rotation there. So the offense, you got some youth up front, you've got some experience on the defensive line. That hope is starting to build a little bit more as we get into these practices. And it's here, and we're excited to be here
and
as well.
Let's dive into the news that Jesse talked about, the signing of CD Lamb. We knew it was going to happen. It was just a question of when it was going to happen. And the announcement comes on Monday that the CD is ready to play with a huge contract at $34 million a year, second in the league behind Justin Jefferson as far as wide receivers, but got that no state income tax. And so, so that, in my mind, that in CD's mind, that propels him to the top of the chart. But it's a huge deal that CD is back.
No, absolutely. And as a team, as a whole, what you want to do is you want to be able to scout a guy, draft a guy, develop a guy, and then he turned into everything that you wanted him to turn into. And I think that's what CeeDee Lamb has been. He has been everything that you thought he would be when you kind of fell into him at that pick in the draft a couple years ago. He has turned this thing around, and he's found himself being paid like, because he's played like, one of the best receivers in the National Football League.
You know, the reason Bill's so excited, that's the second, with Guyton, that's the second Oklahoma guy that's starting on the team. But I tell you, it's real. I always believe in movers. And CeeDee Lamb is a mover of the safety, mover of the middle linebacker, and that right there frees up the run game. If he come in and be anything near what he was last year, we're going to have a serious run game due to the fact that CeeDee Lamb sits out there wide on that right and left side.
And it really comes at a perfect time for this team because there's a ramp-up period. Bill, you said it a moment ago, 12 days going into that Week 1 matchup with the Cleveland Browns. And Browns prep, they've only really had one half of a practice in terms of Browns prep. The real prep begins today, looking forward to the regular season because, like you said, training camp is over with now. Now they're building toward Week 1, and he's in the building. He's ready to go. He's not going to need a ton of a ramp-up period physically. Saw him today. He's in great shape. He's been working out. He's been working with his personal trainers on the side to make sure that when this day comes, he's ready to hop in and be ready to go. He's in that mindset, and he will be in that mindset over the course of the week.
And since the signing is just happening, he is not on the 53-man roster as it sits right now. He's on what's called a commissioner's list, but he is able to practice with the team. And you mentioned he's in the building. How about we hear from CeeDee Lamb as Nick Eatman caught up with him earlier this afternoon?
All right, well, it's all smiles here at the Star with CeeDee Lamb, and you're definitely doing a lot of smiling. You just said, welcome back home. How does it feel to finally get the contract out of the way, and what does it mean for you, your family, all that?
Quite honestly, it's still surreal to me, a great moment. Obviously, I'm happy for myself, for my family. I appreciate the Jones family. Shout out my agent for getting this done. It was long, it was a process, but we're here now. I'm back home.
Loss of words.
Let's go
All
score
right.
some more touchdowns. I know that.
All right. Well, before we do that, and let's talk a little bit. You said the process. How tough was it to see from afar your teammates there at training camp? I know you've always been a team guy. Just how tough was it to be away from them?
It wasn't pleasurable at all. I can't even count on my 2 hands how many times I told my agent like I'm ready to be out there. So I know he got kind of tired of hearing it. So workouts was whatever, just looking at paying attention from afar was bittersweet. But shout out my guys. I know they're working. I know they're prepared for this moment. And when I get back in the fold, we know what I bring to the table, and that's just to bring the camaraderie.
What is the difference between being in shape, and we saw the videos, saw you in shape, but also football shape, and how tough is that going to be for the next 10 days or so?
It'll be different. Obviously, with the pads on, added extra weight, 15 pounds maybe. But other than that, I feel like I prepared for everything else. Shout out Dr. Reef, by the way. Getting me ready for the resistance and all that, pushing and shoving. It'll be different, but I'll be ready for it.
And then I know this is cliche, but I have to ask: what are we buying? What's the first thing or the second thing? Is there anything big purchase on the horizon?
We'll see when I buy it.
All right. Will we all see it, or
we'll see when I buy it?
All right.
I'll show the world.
All right. Sounds good. All right. That's Cowboys franchise receiver CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. We talk about cuts today, and here's some notable cuts we're going to show you here. What struck you, starting with you, Kyle, what struck you as far as the cuts today, getting down to this 53-man roster?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a cut specifically, but it was a trade, and it was Peyton Hendershot on his way to the Kansas City Chiefs. I know we'll talk about that probably a little bit later on. The one room with all of these cuts that we're talking about now that's a little bit thin is cornerback, especially with the injury to Daron Bland. You cut some of those guys like Eric Scott Jr., who was a draft pick. You bring back Andrew Booth. There are a couple different things along the way, and that cornerback room that I'm not necessarily excited about, and it's the depth that worries me. If you get Daron Bland back and he's ready to go at a high level once he's back from injury in 6 to 8 weeks, I feel better about it. But right now, I think that room's really thin, Nate.
I tell you what, Royce Freeman had a great camp. Royce Freeman is not here because Deuce Vaughn showed out the lateral part of camp and showed what he can do. But my problem is always going to be with Deuce Vaughn. If you dress him, you have to play him.
Yeah.
Because if not to play him, it's wasting the spot.
Yeah, and let's get into the running backs a little bit here because when you look at the running back room right now, you've got the likes of Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn makes the team, and Hunter Lipke, the fullback / H-back / tight end / running back. What do you make of things, Jesse, at the running back position right now?
They look the same. Like, it's two things like the running back room. One, we know what Zeke is. He's been here for a long time. But then you look at what Rico is, and they're kind of built in the same mold. There isn't anything that really separates the two from what you want. Now, that all falls on to what Mike McCarthy likes as a running back. He likes the bigger backs. He likes the guys who can run inside and outside. So this group is probably going to rely heavily, I think, on Zeke and then sprinkling Rico instead of the other way around where they rely heavily on Rico and sprinkling Zeke. So it's going to be an interesting room, but it also leaves the room for you bring a guy like Dalvin Cook for a workout. Is there one more kind of move that this team will make to add an additional running back?
I think there's a possibility. And any time that you're talking about Dalvin Cook, I mean, everybody perks up a little bit because of what he did in Minnesota early in his career. There's a reason he was cut by Minnesota, and there's a reason he was cut by New York. You have to kick the tires to make sure that Dalvin Cook is still going to give you that impact. What they're looking for is not a guy who's going to carry it on 3rd and 4th down. They're not looking for a guy who's going to carry it in short yardage situations and pass block. They have that with Zeke. They have that with Rico Dowdle. They're looking for a guy with home run ability. So I don't know if Dalvin Cook specifically is the answer, but there might be an answer on the open market. You've just got to do your homework. Today's cut down days for 31 other teams in the NFL. Do your homework, kick the tires on a couple of guys, see which one fits your system and which one's going to help Mike McCarthy out the best.
Rico Dowdle has to be that guy. He all he has to do is stay healthy. I know he's fast. I'm serious. All he got to do is stay healthy. If he stays healthy, that may be that guy. He may be, because Zeke will soften you. Zeke will tenderize you, and he'll make a guy look better than maybe what he is. And that's what I think Rico Dowdle. They did not touch him during the preseason. So Rico Dowdle may be that guy.
One other note on Dalvin Cook. Now, last year, he spent time with the Jets and then with the Ravens, and got some work in the playoffs with the Ravens, in fact. But on the season, he only averaged 3.2 yards a carry. Yeah. Coming off a year the year before where he did much better. And, of course, Mike Zimmer has familiarity with him as well. But the biggest thing for him, he was coming off shoulder surgery too. And he is out to prove, and one of the reasons the Cowboys bring him in today is to see what kind of shape he is in. And is this a Dalvin Cook that we saw last year, or has he found the fountain of youth at age 29? By the way, he's like less than 3 weeks younger than Zeke Elliott.
Interesting. Do you think he would benefit, or not benefit, but do you think Dalvin Cook would fit in this running back room and make a home run level impact?
No.
I don't think so either.
I don't. He doesn't have. He has strong double.
Yes.
Right. I can get you a double. I can get around first.
Yeah.
I can get that around first. I can slide in face first for a double. I don't. In a home run, I don't see it.
Hitting like 250 on the season, maybe a little lower, maybe like 235 on the season. He's good gap to gap hitter.
Yeah.
But he's not going to hit the home run ball. That's it. That's just.
You love this baseball
It's
talk.
not.
They lost me, man.
Listen, it's not Aaron Judge. It's not Shohei.
So what you saying is if he bunt, he can only get the first.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he's gonna have to run that out.
All right. How about Deuce Vaughn? Deuce Vaughn makes this team, and what you saw out of Deuce Vaughn in the preseason, what kind of role does he have on this team?
You know what, Bill? That's the biggest. Like, if there is a question on players on this roster, what is the role of Deuce Vaughn? Because I was on the side of, if Deuce Vaughn doesn't play more special teams, whether that be a returner, whether that be a personal protector, something. Because to your point, on Sunday, how can I get him in a jersey? He had a lot of DNPs last year because as I'm putting together a game plan each and every week, I don't know if I have a package of plays that I'm willing to spend the time with Deuce Vaughn if he's not doing anything else.
Yeah,
because
to get him on the 46-man roster.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right. So, like, if you're talking about 5 to 7 plays for a guy at the running back position, that's not Sunday jersey worthy.
No.
I need more from Deuce. So Deuce making this team, I hope now that there is a legitimate plan that's put in place that will be able to showcase his talent, but it's going to start with him playing more special teams.
I think when it comes to Deuce, it's about the upside, and they don't want to try and give up that upside of what Deuce could be in the future. But I'm with you in the fact you're not just doing that with Deuce Vaughn either. You're doing it with Kevontae Turpin.
Yeah, exactly.
You're trying to find a role for Kevontae Turpin in this offense that he didn't have outside of his return ability and special teams work. Deuce Vaughn doesn't have that to fall back on. So if he's going to make this roster, there better be some level of plan, some level of opportunity for Deuce to carry the ball and be better this year than he was last year. And if we're talking about preseasons, he was better this preseason in terms of yards per carry. He had the same amount of carries, but he had almost 20 more yards. There's just an ability for Deuce Vaughn they don't want to give up on yet. You just got to have a plan with it if you're going to use it.
And we saw some cross-training, too, with as far as Deuce working in the backfield and as a slot receiver in training camp and in the offseason, much like they were using Kevontae Turpin, too. They would line him up sometimes in the backfield.
Sure.
And so it's going to be interesting now with CD back in the fold and with the weapons that you have on offense, how Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer are using these guys.
200 targets going to 88.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
So
we know
200 targets are going to 88
They
now.
had 185 targets last year.
200 is going to 88.
They better
Y'all
be
can
going
say
to
all you
88.
want, but it looks like Deuce finna get on his 46.
Oh, we had
think
They
so?
better have a package for him.
See, but they've
They
got
better
two-
have a package for him.
two undersized guys they're trying to find a role for, Turpin and Deuce Vaughn.
Together they make one full-size man.
Then you feel okay about it.
Turpin has red zone, slot. They worked him a lot during training camp. He's in the open field. They let him get outside. He can return kicks. He can return punts. Same with Deuce. Return kicks, return punts. They put him in the slot. I just don't see the need to have those two guys if you're not going to have them there. You got to have them there.
But outside of returning, when have either one of those guys been effective in an offensive setting? In a real game, in a regular season game? It hasn't happened
yet. This kid is his only second year. Let's find out, because Turpin did more his second year, correctly?
Yeah.
So let's see. Mike McCarthy to me, Mike McCarthy, a genius.
And Brian Schottenheimer, by the way, was the offensive coordinator for the Chargers this is going back nearly 20 years ago when a guy out of Kansas State named Darren Sproles came into the league. And Darren Sproles, if you go back and look, his first year, and Darren Sproles had a very similar college career to what Deuce Vaughn did at Kansas State. His first year, he did nothing with the Chargers.
Nothing.
The next year, he had an ankle injury. He did nothing the second year either, and then he became a Pro Bowl-type player starting third year on. And Schottenheimer saw how he was being used. They had a plan for him, and we'll see if Deuce Vaughn has that same kind of plan here.
And I think that's in the back of the heads of the Cowboys. I really do. I think that's in the back of their head. You talked about how he was a Pro Bowl-esque player. He was 31 when he made his first Pro Bowl, Darren Sproles. He's got time.
We don't have
made
time
it down the road.
Deuce to 31.
Exactly.
What?
You don't have that yet.
What kept Darren Sproles on roster? When you go back and you watch those cut-up, he was on kickoff.
Yes.
He was on punt.
Yep.
He was on punt return. Yep. He was on kickoff return. Those are the things that get you to the point where this is a guy that we keep around, and over time I can workshop packages for him. We don't have the time in a week in practices now in the new NFL to work all these different things in packages.
Hey, Deuce, if you can hear me, Jesse said you need to get on all the special teams because we ain't got time to wait on you, brother.
Here's the other thing.
He knows it. He knows that's
And he will be a part of it.
By the way, as we continue for the next up until 7 o'clock here on TXA 21 and DallasCowboys.com, what Nate is going to get into is the fact that all these running backs, it doesn't matter who you got on the team if the offensive line isn't improved, right?
That's right. That is totally right.
So you got your eyes on a couple of rookies that are slated to start on that offensive line.
Yes, I do. And you want me to just go into it right now?
No,
You want me to go deeply into it, or you want me to go into this
Just
break?
tease us on it.
Okay.
Tease us on
Look
it.
at that. Ain't no movement if them guys don't move, all right?
Of course, that would be Tyler Guyton at left tackle and Cooper Beebe at center as well. I tell you what, though, Dak Prescott has certainly looked good there in Oxnard and right here at Ford Center, too.
No doubt about it. I think he's been one of the best in terms of what he's able to do and leading this team. He's the one that's been getting the job done.
All right, and we're going to talk not quarterbacks, but cornerbacks when we come back here to opening night at the Star in Frisco. Your chance to see the 2024 Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys single game tickets are on sale now. Limited tickets for the 2024 season at AT&T Stadium are available on DallasCowboys.com/tickets. So act now. Cowboys open the season in 12 days at the Cleveland Browns, and then the home opener will come against New Orleans the following week. It is opening night here at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco as Cowboys fans are able to see what we saw in Oxnard for 31 days in Oxnard. The team spent out there. That was like going back to the Nate Newton days in Thousand Oaks where you're out there for about 31 days at a time.
I started feeling it, man. I mean, I started getting a little bit weary out there, so I came home about 2 or 3 days earlier. But, you know, as soon as I hit this Dallas weather, I was wishing I was back in California. But it was a great time out there, and we get to see the guys do what they have to do.
Okay, some of the disturbing news from the weekend. It was right before the final preseason game. We learned about the Daron Bland injury, and he had surgery yesterday. A stress fracture in his foot, 5th metatarsal in his foot, expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks, although Dr. Jerry Jones said 4 or 5 games and he'll be back. But that's a tough blow for this team because we were all expecting to see Trayvon Diggs on one side coming off his ACL and Daron Bland on the other side, but now things are a little bit different, Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a devastating blow. I got a chance to see Will McClay on the sideline for Saturday's game, and I just said to him, I said, man, Daron Bland, and he used some words that I wouldn't use on this broadcast, but then he just said, that's how football goes, next guy up, right? And it's unfortunate because this seems like a trend for the DBs. It's like every time we get close to the season, we lose one of our top defensive backs. And so you hope that Carson can step up. You know what Jordan Lewis is going to be. And now you have to wait and see. I know that we've seen all the videos and we've seen some of the workouts, but what is Trayvon Diggs coming off the ACL injury? Is he back to his old form, or does he follow that trend of I needed just a little bit more time to get back to my winning ways.
An encouraging sign was the joint practice against the Rams when he had a pick.
Yes, and he looked great out there in doing so and moving around. But that's the only real live looks we've seen of Trayvon Diggs, because even in practice, he's working slowly to get back to full speed, full strength, and work into September 8th. If anybody's going to get somebody to arise, it's going to be Al Harris as the defensive backs coach. And I mean, he's earned the trust of this fan base, of this franchise, because of what he's done with Diggs first. Then you have Daron Bland and what he's done to step up. It's just unfortunate that he hasn't had all three guys together just yet, throwing Jordan Lewis into the fold there too, because all three of those guys are now coming off of major injuries. So if there's any benefit, I guess, of having those guys around, it's the fact that Daron Bland has two other guys that are starters that have come off of major injuries, one Jordan Lewis and Trayvon Diggs. You just got to find a way to piece together that defensive back room until we get to that point when Daron Bland's healthy.
2 practices against the Rams, 3 preseason games, and a whole lot of scouting. I call it the waiver wire effect, baby. We got to wait and see who's going to hit that waiver wire, because you don't want to take steps back. I mean, I understand that these guys that we had in training camp are good guys. We drafted a guy in Carson who showed to be real effective when he was in there. But the cornerback position reminds me of left tackle. That's a serious business. And you need to have the best guys you possibly can. So with all due respect to those guys that are making the team, check that waiver wire, Mr. Jones.
Well, and that's why early in the show when we were talking about the roster cuts, corner stuck out to me the most, because when Daron ultimately had the injury and he's going to be placed on IR, I looked at that cornerback room and said, somebody's going to make this team now out of the cornerback room that maybe wouldn't have made it initially. That wasn't the case. They still cut the roster down, all the way down to 5 guys at the cornerback position that are going to play legitimate snaps at corner. That's Diggs, Lewis, Caelean, Carson, Andrew Booth, and Israel Mukwamu. 5 guys. And then you add Daron Bland into the fold. You have C.J. Goodwin, but he's on special teams for the most part. I'm interested to see how they're going to piece this together, and I think it's how Nate's talking about right now. I don't think they're done adding to that room.
And Caelean Carson, the 5th-round draft pick out of Wake Forest, wears Terrence Newman's old number 41. And Nick Harris has more on the Cowboys rookie corner.
The Dallas Cowboys were hit with some unexpected bad news just moments before kickoff of the team's final preseason game on Saturday, as All-Pro cornerback Daron Bland is expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks after an MRI revealed a stress fracture in his left foot. The news came just 15 days out from the team's season opener against the Cleveland Browns, as the team is expected to put Bland on the injured reserve designated to return list, which would require an absence of at least 4 games. Where does that have the Cowboys turning in the meantime? Enter rookie cornerback Caelean Carson.
Del 2024, the Dallas Cowboys select Caelean Carson, defensive back, Wake Forest.
A 5th-round pick, coincidentally the same round that Bland was selected in back in 2022. And while turning a big defensive role over to a rookie could draw some concern, the overwhelming thought from the Cowboys is that his performance at training camp and in the preseason has him prepared for this opportunity.
The fact that he's playing at the level he is for how long a time, which is not much in the NFL, and he certainly is going to get a great opportunity to fill in here.
For Carson, he understands the opportunity in his palms despite it coming at the hand of an untimely injury to a teammate he has grown close with since his arrival just 4 months ago.
It sucks because DB like my brother and he one of the guys, so it's terrible news. Just make the most of every opportunity. Take notes from DB and Trey and some of the older guys and just make the most of the opportunity.
While Jerry Jones and the front office do have some decisions to make when it comes to roster construction over the course of this week, looking at the cornerback market will not be one of them, as he's putting his trust into Carson and the depth of that group.
That's the good news, is that we've got some guys that have really shown well in camp. We won't be looking at all.
While Carson is garnering praise early on, there will still be some learning curves he will have to experience in the early weeks of the NFL season. For him, his approach will remain the same, though, to stay level-headed.
It's always a learning process, but I feel like at the end of the day, football is football, and it is what you make it. So I feel like I'm a confident guy. I feel like I earned the right to play. I showed that I could play on this level, so whatever happened will happen.
Now the crash course will begin for the rookie as early as this week as he prepares to step in for Daron Bland. It's more of a heads up than Bland got in his rookie season when he stepped in for Lewis, who also went down with a foot fracture. Now, the parallels could be drawn between Bland and Carson as they both see starting opportunities as fifth-round rookies. But for a player that has already been coined with a nickname seatbelt at training camp, he's only focused on the road in front of him, however fast that may be.
Big opportunity for Caelean Carson. And I tell you, Jesse Hawley, with Al Harris, not only as the DB's coach for this team, but he is now, there's a reason he's now the assistant head coach on this team. It's a reward for not only what he can do in the future, he's a prospective head coach in the NFL going forward, but what he has done with this cornerback room,
No,
too.
absolutely. And if you're around Al Harris for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, you see the effect. He has that energy about him. When I was in Oxnard, I got a chance to, we were standing by the buffet line in the breakfast room at the hotel. And I said, I pulled him to the side a little bit and I shared a story with him, but I asked him, I said, what about this kid, Caelean Carson, that you like? And he just simply looked at me and he kind of gave me a half smile and he said, I got another one. He said, I got another one. And the thing that he liked about Caelean was the experience. 4-year starter at Wake Forest, a ton of reps, and those things translate. When you have that much repetition and you play that much football, all those things now translate to the National Football League, and he said that he's eager to learn. A lot of times guys get to a certain position, to a certain place, and all of a sudden they turn off their learning mechanism in their brain. And he says after every play, after every series, after every practice, Carson is trying to learn more and more about the position. And so when he looked at me and he said, I got another one, that gives me a little bit more confidence when Jerry says, we're not going out to look for a DB, because Al Harris said we got another one.
And a smart guy, too. I mean, Wake Forest, that's a tough academic school, and he's got a degree, okay? And he did, like some of us, it didn't take him 6 years to get a degree. He's only 22 years old, and he's got his college degree. So there you go.
ACC powerhouse like that, right?
That's right.
Hey, be easy on the ACC now. They'll be easy on the ACC now. Come on
That
now.
was a deodorant, right? Degree?
Those are the degrees that FAMU's giving out.
Yes, sir. That's why we got Bell smart enough to play linebacker and safety.
Back end, you got the cornerbacks and the linebacker position. We talked a little bit earlier about Eric Kendricks, but when you look at the makeup of this roster, and I know when I think Kyle said something about Buddy Johnson making the team, your eyes lit up.
Yes,
you like
sir.
what you saw from Buddy Johnson out of Dallas Kimball High School and Texas A&M in Oxnard.
He's a big kid. He's rangy. He can run. And I watched him when a lot of young guys were getting caught up in the wash of the guards and tackles when they block down on you. This guy was looping around, perfect angles, making tackle after tackle. I like this kid. He can ball.
And Damone Clark, the only linebacker on this roster. Well, Marquise Bell was a linebacker last year. He's now a safety.
Yeah, with a degree.
So the only linebacker on this roster this year who played all 17 games for Dallas last season. You got to love the depth of this linebacking core right now.
It's completely redone. Yep. It's a completely different group. And a lot of credit is to the front office for building this the way that they have. And DeMarvion Overshone adds a piece to that they had in motion last year just prior to the injury. But then you go get Maris Leopold, which was widely known as one of the more criticized picks in the third round from not only the Cowboys, but NFL in general. Everybody was looking at that.
So you're a draft guru. Why was it criticized?
Because he wasn't the fit for other teams as he is for Mike Zimmer.
I think he saw Eric Kendricks in Maris Leopold.
I think he did too.
Yeah.
And the way that he reads and he reacts, you talk about a smart guy from Notre Dame, that's exactly what he is. There's a lot of different individuals that you could have gone with in the third round. Maris Leopold looks like he's going to be a starter, if not an impact player, in year one. That's a good pick for me because he's picking up, and Mike Zimmer's standing on the table for him, and he's picked up right where he left off in the college ranks, and he looks like that in the NFL too.
And you say he climbed to the top of the depth chart quickly for Mike Zimmer, right, at linebacker.
The first official depth chart of the season, he was the number 1 middle linebacker, or number 2 middle linebacker overall. He was in front of DeMarvion Overshone, and he was in front of a number of the guys in that linebacker.
All right, and guess what we got coming up next? We've got Will McClay going to chime in with Nicole Hutchison on the sidelines here. Opening night at the Star continues in a moment.
Go Cowboys!
Opening night at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco continues, and we've got a very special guest on the sideline. Nicole Hutchison is standing by with Will McClay.
Yeah, guys, it was only right to check in on the sidelines with VP of Player Personnel, Will McClay, because it has been a busy week for the Dallas Cowboys, starting with CeeDee Lamb. You guys finally finalized the deal with him. Just how good did it feel to get that done and to see him out here on the field back with everybody?
Well, you want your best players on the field as we get started, and CeeDee's a big part of that. Glad he's here, and I'm going to ask him for a loan.
Ask him for a loan. How much are you going to ask him for?
I'll keep that quiet.
When you talk about the fact that it's only 12 days to ramp him up, but he has been working this offseason, just what do you think that it'll take, and what have those conversations been like with Mike McCarthy as far as to get him ready?
We're going to have to be smart with him. You know, he's got to get in football shape and being around the team, but we're going to be smart with him. Know that he's worked and done, you know, he's prepared himself for this. We're going to be smart, check the GPS numbers and do all those things, but and you know, give him the right amount of plays and work him in the right way.
It's been another big, busy week, like I mentioned today, with the deadline at 3 p.m. to make final roster cuts. What was this day like for you as a guy who had a hand in that process?
It's tough because you've formed these relationships with guys. You want to see them do their best, but it is a dog-eat-dog business and survival of the fittest, and they know this is a part of it. So you build those relationships. Now you got, you know, and we never know if we're going to work with them again, but then we're always trying to improve the team, and so tonight, after the final cuts, we're going to go through everybody and see what steps we can take to make our team better.
A couple of those guys were rookies, but you have quality rookies still on this roster. When you talk about Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, Caelean Carson, Maris Leofau, those guys were bubble wrapped actually by the end of the preseason. Just what has impressed you about this rookie class so far?
I think the whole group has come in and they're very, very mature. They followed the leadership of our locker room and our guys, and I think the way that they've come in and brought some of that youthful energy, but also understand what we're trying to get to and listen and following the vets. So I'm excited about these guys, and you know, youth is always the thing that continues to drive us forward.
Have they met you all's expectations? Because that was something in this offseason where Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones had mentioned that this youth class will have to really step up big.
Yeah, I mean, that's and every year that's the way it is. And if we've got to play the good players that we have, and that's part of it. But our job as a scouting department is to bring in the young talent, and hopefully they fit in, and they've done a good job so far.
Still week one, waiting for an official regular season game, but so far with after training camp, how impressed with you, and what do you feel like the success of this team can look like at the state of this roster?
I feel good about the roster. We won't know till we start playing, but our big deal was to try and have competition at every position and have depth at every position. That's why you got young guys playing. We have some veterans behind them, and the competitive spirit of the guys. So we're looking forward just to getting going.
Well, thank you so much. Always appreciate the time and hope you enjoy the rest of practice. Guys, back to you.
All right, Nicole Hutchison, and thanks to Will McClay. By the way, in his 23rd season with the Cowboys organization, the Vice President of Player Personnel. What a job Will McClay does.
And we were just talking about how they've found value from Caelean Carson. They've found value from Maris Leofau. That doesn't happen without Will McClay. It doesn't happen without the scouting department. Sure, this coaching staff and the offensive and defensive coordinators, they have all of this figured out and what they want on the field, but the scouts got to give them the players in the first place and give them their check.
And that leads us to the offensive line, which Nate Newton can't wait to talk about next here on opening night at the Star in Frisco. Opening night at the Star in Frisco continues here as we get you set for the 2024 regular season, just a dozen days away from a trip to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns, and we welcome you back here. Let's talk about this offensive line. There's a Pro Bowler in Tyler Smith.
Yes, sir.
There's a six-time Pro Bowler sitting alongside us right here, Nate Newton, who says the key to this season are these young guys, Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, on the offensive line.
When they drafted these guys, man, we talked about how quick can they get in and start. Well, it took, the second Rams game for Cooper Beebe to start. They saw something in that scrimmage that made him feel like they felt like it was equal to Hoffman. So they said, you know what, we'll go with the rookie. And so they went with Beebe. With Tyler Guyton, I thought the job was always his. I mean, he just had there. First-round pick, left tackle out of Oklahoma. Sweet feet, nice feet, got good recovery. What I worry about now is sometimes he'll lean, and that makes me think, is he strong enough to just punch and keep guys off? We'll find out real quick in a couple of weeks.
Myles Garrett is on the other side of the line of scrimmage here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, excuse me. I forgot about Austin Richards. Last year, couldn't get on the field. This year, he could be your swing tackle, number 76. I think out of South Carolina, North Carolina. One of them Carolinas.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
One of those other ACCs.
Don't you do that.
Y'all probably don't even have a league no more.
Don't you do that. I am a Tar Heel born, Tar Heel bred, baby. Don't play with my Tar Heels.
He found a baby blue, a Carolina blue Cowboys
I'm
shirt.
glad you said that right.
I'm sorry.
Carolina blue. There we go. That's good right
But
there.
that is another position that we have to worry about is that swing tackle. We lost Adoga to a toe injury, I think. So now this kid played left guard and left tackle all during the preseason, Austin Richards. Can he swing over to the right tackle, or will, like I think with cornerback, will they go to the waiver wire?
But let me ask you this, Nate. When you talk about young players, and you talk about a guy like Guyton and BB, and these guys trying to find their way, is there a point, because they're going to hit the rookie wall, right? There's going to be some hiccups in their process, right?
Especially offensive line-wise.
So how long do you feel like that takes to kind of work through that rookie wall, work through those mistakes where it doesn't cost them? Because here's the thing about offensive linemen, right?
Yeah.
Offensive linemen, you can have 70 plays in the game.
Yes, sir.
66 can be picturesque. I mean, chef's kiss. But you can have 3 or 4 of those plays that go to hell. And it could be a sack, it could be a missed block, and it could derail offsides and derail your game. Like that.
Holding.
That's the thing about offensive linemen. So when you're talking about these young players, how long do you feel like it takes for them to kind of get to that, to find their rhythm, to find their mojo?
About 4 or 5 games of consistent play. Me and Bill and all of us talked about it. Guyton is finna do something he's never done before, and that's play 3 or 4 back-to-back games, and he's got to stay healthy. He didn't do that in college. So he's got to build up endurance and a confidence that, you the first-round pick, you the big dog, you danced on everybody in the Big 12, but this ain't the Big 12. You got to be consistent. You got to be technique sound, and you're going to have to stay in that weight room to make sure that you get through these 17 games. BB is a little different. He's played now. He's moving from guard to center, but he's played down after down. He's played 2 or 3 years straight.
And BB's got 48 starts in college. Okay, Tyler Guyton had 9 starts last year for Oklahoma and 5 starts the year before. So he has a total of 14 starts in his collegiate career. And the Cowboys need him to start 17 regular season games and then some.
We don't have to Trey Lance at left tackle, do we?
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't say that.
I'm just. Come on, let's have a little bit of fun.
That's that ACC. That's that ACC, man.
That's also the importance of having that relief for him when he needs it, and it's a veteran guy. And Chuma Edoga, by the way, he's on the 53-man roster, and most likely he's going to be put on injured reserve, which they can bring him back later in the season when he's over that toe injury. But in the meantime, they're probably searching for others who might be able to be that swing tackle if Austin Richards isn't the guy right now. Matt Waletzko's another one who made the 53-man roster.
Yeah, and you talk about 2 guys. I mean, not only is Tyler Guyton doing something new, Cooper Beebe's switching positions. So you have that backup. You have that safety net underneath from Brock Hoffman. You don't have that for Tyler Guyton. I think it's a necessary move, at least to look outside to go see if there's a veteran out there, because right now it's Austin Richards as your swing tackle.
By the way, they went outside since the start of training camp as we switched our attention to the defensive line, and how about what they did in finding the likes of, in a trade, Jordan Phillips comes over from the Giants, and now they have announced today that they have agreed to terms, or they've signed the contract with Linval Joseph. He's on the 53-man roster, but it's Mazi Smith that everybody's eyes are on, the first-round pick from last year.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Mazi is, like, we've been waiting, and then when Zim comes in, you have to understand that Mazi Smith is not a Mike Zimmer draft pick. So the relationship and the responsibility of, hey, this is my guy, I got to make it work. Zim's like, I'm on a 1-year deal. And if your job for me is to stop this run, then I'm going to go out and get, as we like to call them on our show, the biggest and fattest greasies that we can get to clog up these A gaps and these one techniques and these three techniques, so that we're not facing the same thing year in and year out of teams running the football all over us, and we're able to keep our linebackers clean. Yeah. So for Mazi, I hope that he takes it personal. I hope that it is a personal thing that he looks at and go, wow, they're bringing all these guys in to play where I'm supposed to play. That needs to be a personal thing that he feels, and now acts on that in a way that says, I'll show you.
It's all about effort. And coaches will tell you, Zimmer will tell you, all the great coaches that we had, you at North Carolina, you at North Texas, and even you at Oklahoma. Coaches will tell you, if I have to teach effort, if I have to coach effort, I'm in trouble. And I watched Mazi during the whole training camp, just every drill, from Micah Parsons to Fehoko, who isn't even here anymore, just cheering him on. And I said to myself, and I told my wife, Michelle, I said, you can't do that with an NFL player. You can't cheer him every play, every snap, every rep. He has to have something in him that want to make him be consistent. Yes, he had a little bit of better training camp than he had last year, but not much better. He's very inconsistent, and he should see by what Coach Zim, how Zim is bringing in people around him. That should inspire him.
Okay, we're going to give you a look around the Star and Ford Center in Frisco, the official training facility of the Dallas Cowboys. The Hail Mary staircase, Leo Villarreal's volume Frisco light display hanging high above the atrium ceiling. Tours of the Star can be scheduled at thestarinfrisco.com. What a beautiful place here at the Star in Frisco. Opening night continues here. Bill Jones, Jesse Holley, Nate Newton, and Kyle Yeomans as we're taking you to the top of the hour here. And all eyes are on Dak Prescott and this Cowboys offense as they kick off the season with the signing now of CeeDee Lamb. Kyle, how excited should Cowboy fans be about what to expect on offense now?
This offense is going to throw the ball around a lot because we talked about running back earlier. We talked about Deuce and Zeke and Rico and how they don't have the home run hitter. Well, you've got someone, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. I think Jake Ferguson could take a step to be an elite tight end in this league, and it's all led by Dak Prescott and what he does from a quarterback, a leadership, and a play standpoint. I mean, just in case you needed a reminder, he was number 2 in MVP voting last year, and that was not a fluke. He is a top-notch quarterback in this league. He's been by far the best offensive player in camp, and it's not even really close. I think if we were to give an MVP award, it'd probably go to Micah Parsons. But then Offensive Player of the Year would be Dak Prescott of what he did in camp, and he didn't even get a chance to play in the preseason. So I'm excited about what Dak can bring. Now that CeeDee's back in the building, he has some ramp-up time with 12 days to get ready for it. Cooks, if he's healthy and ready, Ferguson, and this passing game is going to be elite in 2024.
Let's get our wide receiver talking about it.
Let me tell you, listen, this thing starts and ends with Dak Prescott.
No doubt.
It just flat out does. And for him, trust and believe you me, we all cheered about CeeDee coming in and signing that contract. There was no one happier outside of CeeDee and his family than number 4. He was happy to see. He was like, my boy is back in the building. That gives him a sense of relief because he knows when all else fails, I can find 88 and he's going to make a play for me. So, but for Dak Prescott, and he's the next one up. The Brinks truck's going to come back around down the tollway and go to his house next because he's the next one to get a deal. But this thing starts, ends, goes, stops, moves, shakes. We put all our eggs in the Dak Prescott basket. If he can't get us to the promised land, it ain't happening.
Traffic was bad out there, and I saw a Brinks truck flipped over and CeeDee Lamb just landed at the button. I tell you what, just to know how I feel, I say we got to pay him first. But I tell you, ladies, right here, this thing with Dak, man, and we forget. We let that playoff game hurt us last year, and we almost forgot. Number 4 is the man.
He is the man. No doubt. You think if, like you said, Dak was the second most excited outside of CeeDee and his family, do you think the second most excited for Dak, if he gets that deal done, would be CeeDee Lamb?
No, it'd be Micah Parsons.
You think so?
100%. Because now Micah Parsons wait, all-pro receiver's going to be there.
Yeah.
All-pro quarterback's going to be there. I'm going to be here, too, for a little while.
There you go. There you go. But it all comes back to the offensive line, Mr. Offensive Lineman,
Tyler
right?
Guy, Cooper Beebe, and awesome riches. That is what's going to make this work. This is how it will be. Give me my baby, man.
We got an exclusive interview. Deuce Vaughn came to join us on the set.
A television debut here.
Oh, that's not Deuce Vaughn? My bad. I'm sorry.
Talking about?
I thought Deuce
Michael
was
Yeomans.
Oh, hey.
What are you talking about?
All right.
That's my one of the triplets. That's Michael. He's hanging out with us today.
Throw that tall sweep over here.
Yes.
So, how old?
6 months.
6 months old.
And we've got Leo and Noel. They're running around here
What's he
somewhere.
trying to go to?
That's Uncle Nate.
They're
it's Uncle
literally,
Nate, buddy.
they're already running around at age 6 months.
Yeah,
huh?
we're trying to get them out here.
Yeah.
At some point, we got a roster to fill up. We got a 53-man cutdown day in 2042.
Can you play special teams?
Yeah, I think you can.
There's some teams in your baby.
He's pretty special.
We got a dynamic kickoff we're all looking forward to here in a couple of weeks. All right, that does it from opening night here at the Star in Frisco. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you when the regular season begins, plus always on our podcast on DallasCowboys.com. See you next time here